Welcome to Bothsides TV. I've been meaning to do this interview for a very long time with my friend John Shahidi, the owner of the @John Twitter handle.
That's me.
How did you get @John as a Twitter handle?
Oh man, that was so long ago.
Were you just like one of the first people who registered, or?
No, I had John Shahidi at first, and I mean, man, this was like, I'm gonna say late 2008, early 2009, and I think it just like it was being squatted on. So I just reached out to Twitter, and they were so small back then that like they would just respond right away. I said, "Hey, I want this name." They're like, "All right, done." I was like, "Oh, wow."
Those are the good old days.
Yeah, those are the good old days. Yeah,
anymore.
now you could probably not even get John Shahidi now.
And what I think you're probably best known for, I mean, you are the creator of a very successful application called Shots, which we're going to talk about today. You've built multiple companies, you built games companies, and you will over time increasingly be known as that, but it's probably hard to escape your ties to Justin Bieber. And Justin Bieber is an investor in Shots, is he not?
He is, yeah, he's an investor.
How did you meet Justin Bieber?
I met Justin, I'm going to say it was like 2010, maybe 2011, I don't know the years, I can't even keep track anymore, but he was playing one of our games. So we had a bunch of different games before Shots. My brother and I created like a dozen different.
Was there a name of that company? Or
yeah, it was Rock Live. Okay, it was actually the same company. We
okay.
just rebranded as Shots a couple years ago. And he was just playing one of our games, and he was at a hockey game with a friend of mine, mutual friend, Ben Baller. And Ben texts me and said, "Hey, you won't believe this. I'm at this hockey game with Justin." And I'm like, "Oh, really cool." And then he texted me a selfie of the two of them. I said, "That's really cool, man. Like, you know, the Biebs. You know, I was back then called them the Biebs. Now I hate when people call them the Biebs."
Yeah.
But you know, I said, "That's really cool." And he said, "No." He's like, "I'm not texting you to show off that I'm with him." He's like, "I'm at this game, and he's not even watching the game. He's playing your game nonstop." And he said, "We're sitting on the ice, and he's literally playing your game." And I said, "Well, tell him I'm flattered. Like, that's awesome." You know, we were sitting in the garage with my brother and I. We had some seed money, but we're stressed trying to figure everything out. And he said, "Justin wants to call you tonight. 404 number is going to call you. Answer." I was like, "All right." So it's like 10:30 at night, and I get that call. He's like, "This is John." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, this is Justin." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "Hey, I just want to tell you I'm a big fan of all your games, and I want to meet you ASAP." So Sam and I, my brother...
It's not often that Justin Bieber's calling someone to say, "I'm a fan."
It was the most random. Even when I'm talking about this right now, I was like, did this really happen? But yeah, it was just such a random phone call, random, you know, and then just when he called, I wasn't expecting him to be so nice and pleasant. He's like, you know, he was so... It wasn't like, "Hey, you should do business with me." And, you know, there are some celebrities out there that, you know, that have an attitude like that, but it was the other way around. He was like, "I'm so, you know, I want to meet you guys." And so he lived out in Los Feliz at the time, and we met with him, and we shared him our vision, and he shared the game idea he had, and we just hit it off then. And it took a couple years before he became an investor in Shots, but we just became buddies.
So he invested, and if I'm not mistaken, Floyd Mayweather invested as well. Like, how did that come about?
Floyd, about a couple years before that, another mutual friend of ours, Chad, had introduced me to Floyd and just told Floyd, "Hey, you should hear this guy about what he's doing in social media." You know, with these social media and social apps. Before games, we were actually creating these like social apps. And now I'm talking about 2009.
And it's not Chad Johnson; it was a different Chad.
Yeah, Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco.
Ocho Cinco.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So anyway, so we were in Miami. I don't remember for what, and Floyd was out there for Super Bowl. We weren't out there for Super Bowl. I think it was for a event for work, and we met with Floyd and. You know, same thing, just shared with them the vision. He said, "I love this. I love what you guys are doing."
And Justin and Floyd are in the early days, did they use the product?
The games?
No, when you launched Shots, when you first launched your selfie. It was originally a selfie app, and we're going to talk about how the app has changed, but...
Yeah, we actually, because both of them invested in our gaming company, we sat down with them, and especially Floyd, because Floyd actually had invested a lot of money into the gaming company, and we had share, with Justin, we actually shared the concept of shots early,
Okay.
and he believed in this and believed in this positive community. With Floyd, I had to sit down and say, hey, listen, I know you invested in games. We want to pull all our games from the App Store and not make it in games.
Did you say to Floyd, there's this thing in tech called a pivot?
Yeah. Well, the pivot.
And make sure that there's like glass between you and him when you tell him you're pivoting with this money.
But the thing with Floyd though is I didn't think about this when I told him about this was with shots, and hopefully your viewers know what our mission was, and I know we'll get into it is. But he's got 4 teenage kids, so it wasn't that hard for him to say yes. I didn't think I was worried. In fact. Like I think it was like weeks before I called him. Sam was like, have you talked to Floyd? He should know this. I was like, no, I don't want to do it yet. And then finally I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. And he was like, I love it. No, do it. I'm proud of you. You got my full support, no matter what.
And I just want to position it this way, but I want to wait to talk about the product. But your idea for Shots is how do we take social media and in particular images, which is what has been images and video driving social media a lot, and build it in a way that's really supportive of young people, of teens or people in their 20s, in a way to fight back against the bullying that happens in social media. Is that a fair description of what your vision was?
Yeah. Well, that's what the vision initially was, and it's evolved so much from then. And we've had to be careful with the wording and messaging as well, because we're going after such a young audience. You can't come off as this G-rated social network because now you're not cool.
Right.
And that's why. Times when the press and media, all they want to do is talk about Floyd and Justin, we're like, oh man, come on, there's more to this. But at the same time, it's like, actually, well, at least you're making our product come off as more cool. Yeah. And even though, calling it Shots is somewhat edgy as well. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, what we wanted to do initially, and then, how it's evolved is we wanted Shots to be digital people watching.
Right.
That's what we wanted. We, no different than if you and I went to a bar or restaurant, we would just sit there and a lot of people walking in and out. We're just kind of like, oh, that guy's interesting. Look at these two, that type of thing. And that's what we want to see is from all around the world. But since you do put your face out there, and so we only had the front-facing camera. There was no back camera. There was no double shot. There was no video. Even messaging we put in last second. But now that you're putting your face out there, you're putting yourself out for some of the worst criticism out there. I mean, no one wants to be criticized for their face or their family members or your name. Those are really 3 things you can't really change. You're born with. So we said, well, we got to be careful here.
In LA, you can change your face. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, and people are changing their names,
But let's come back to product in a minute. I want to give people a sense of what it's like to work with celebrities, and I don't mean I want behind-the-scenes stories of trips to Vegas with them, but it's something that a lot of people aspire to, not because they want to be around celebrities, but a feeling that if I could get somebody using my product who has an audience, it would give me an unfair advantage. And I think it's fair to say, at least with Justin Bieber in the early days, it did give you an unfair advantage, right? Like a lot of people downloaded the app and wanted to feel like they had access to Bieber. And that came with huge positives because it drove millions of downloads. It came with some negatives, I think, which is how do I get associated as being a broader base application than a Bieber app?
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that?
Yeah. And of course, we went through massive criticism from day one, before launch. Dan Primack had written about, Justin Bieber funding a social network. I think that's what literally the title of the story was, Justin Bieber invests in social network, and social network's coming out this Thursday, and I think the story came out Monday morning. And all of a sudden, you get the gawkers and everyone else of the world, oh, Bieber, you combine the word Justin Bieber and selfie, it's like, oh, selfie, Justin Bieber, it's like, and then, we were a combination of both. But going back to working with celebrities, because I think about this, and there's other celebrities that are investors in Shots and we work with,
examples?
Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, I can't.
So
Mark Suster.
Yeah, I am an investor. So Snoop invested as well.
Yeah. But none of that really matters if the product's not 100% there. We knew that from day one, and we, especially with all the noise, especially with all the press, positive and negative. Everything that was coming was like, we can't lose the vision. We can't be excited about the most influential musician and one of the most influential athletes in the world being behind us, and for a large amount of money. I mean,
and Bieber in particular, if I remember correctly, in the earliest days there was like an 80% correlation between people who use shots and also followed Justin Bieber. And if I'm not mistaken, that's totally flipped now. It's something like 70+% of people don't follow Justin. Is the data roughly right?
Yeah.
Or am I
you're good.
You're
good at this. You're good at finding this stuff. No, so what we looked. So that first month, right after the storm hit with everything, press, downloads, everything. We looked and we said, all right, we got to focus on product. But we said, I wonder how many of these accounts are coming because of Justin. So I think it was the first month, maybe the first 2 months. But we launched on November 12th. I think it was the end of December we looked. We had around 200,000 signups. And so Sam, my brother and also co-founder, he's more on the product side and technical side of things. So he looked at all the accounts that had Twitter connected, that signed up using Twitter. Back then we had signing up for Twitter. Now we're focused on the address book, but and we'll get into that later. And of all the users who have Twitter connected, what on Shots, the 200,000, what percentage of those users follow Justin on Twitter? So we said that'll give us an idea of how many people are here because of him. It was 88%. Right. 88% of our platform. We're like, all right, yeah. It's good and bad, right? I mean, it's good. It's great because we know he's got 150 million fans. So even if this platform was a JustinBieber.com app,
right.
And we had 150 million teenage
you would take it.
Female users from all around the world, not just the U.S., I would take it. I mean, that's like what Snapchat numbers are, even I think WhatsApp when it was sold to Facebook, right? So, But anyways, we said we don't want to be that. That's not what we want to be. That's not why we built this. Can't get stuck there. I think that's a lot of people who have celebrity investors get stuck in that world. We can't do that. So we said, let's put our heads down. Let's focus on the product. Let's build different ways to invite friends, tell others. But let's make this product so great that these users go and tell a brother, a sister, a classmate, a teammate, a family member, whomever.
And just to give people a perspective, because then everything else you say after this will help people understand the data that you understand that a lot of people don't. You have 5 million active users?
A little bit more than that. That's the last number we announced.
That's the last number that's public. So whenever you gave that 5 million number, it's gone up since then. The average user is 16.
16 years old, yeah.
Right? So you're capturing the demographic everyone wants, and it's really hard to attract. And this is the thing that shocked me. 75% female.
75% female, yeah. But then that Bieber number, we also looked at...
Oh, there's the Bieber correlation.
Yeah. No, but that Bieber, because I want to get back to that 88%. So we looked at that same number when we hit 2 million users last summer. So it's, the app was about 7 months old. And we looked at the same thing. Of the 2 million users, those who have Twitter connected, what percentage are following just on Twitter? And that number dropped down to 27%.
27, wow.
So we focused on the products, and we built all these different features, and we made the product, and then we had launched Android as well, where this group of users that had joined Shots were telling others, and that's what we wanted. The example I love using in some meetings that we have internally is, are you a basketball fan?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you remember in the 90s, early 90s, before Michael Jordan won all the, have I used this analogy?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So.
Or if you have, you haven't used it with all
right,
them, so.
Good. Well, I wanted, and I want to make sure you know that you understand this too, is in the early 90s, before Michael Jordan won all those championships, it was always about Magic versus Michael.
Right.
And we grew up in Los Angeles. So, I was a huge Magic Johnson fan.
Of course.
Lakers,
Everyone
everything.
was.
Yeah. And we didn't grow up too far away from the Forum, so I was diehard. This specific year, I think it was like 1992 or 93, Magic Johnson came out with a pair of shoes with LA Gear. Right around the same time, Michael Jordan comes out with Air Jordans with Nike.
Okay.
of course, I bought the Magic Johnson shoes.
Right.
I had to, right? I didn't even care. It was Michael Jordan. No, I'm going Magic. Whatever Magic is selling, I'm with Magic. These shoes were awful. They were ugly. Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My mom spent $100, and never did I buy them again. LA Gear didn't focus on quality. They just focused on the celebrity.
Right.
Nike focused on quality. So 25 years later, they're still selling Air Jordans. Michael Jordan's been retired. I mean, Kobe Bryant's almost retiring, and they're still selling.
My kids knew what Air Jordans were before they knew who Michael Jordan was.
Yeah.
I mean, that says it all.
Product.
It's a brand.
Because
it's a brand and a product.
Yeah,
Yeah, they saw the product everywhere. They just knew Air Jordan.
Yeah, they didn't. Nike didn't get clouded with this, with Michael Jordan, celebrity, great. They said we're gonna make this product great, and if Michael's gonna push it, Michael's gonna push it even better. But no matter what, and that's kind of how we look at things. Is we don't want to be the LA Gear of apps. We want to do what Nike did, and we want. Sometimes we say this, and then people think you're crazy. Is like, I want Shots to be around in 25 years. Right. I know a lot of these apps aren't going to be around. A lot of the apps that launched in the last 2 years since we've been around aren't around yet anymore. But I think about the next 20 years, 25 years.
And when we talked about us looking at an investment, one of the things that really struck me, impressed me, and one of the things that really persuaded me that I wanted to be an investor was your discussion about how children are bullied or feel insecure with a lot of traditional photo sharing apps. Myself, I was very publicly angry with Secret as a company, as an application, because I saw it be used to bully people.
I think that's how we connected, because I think you and Mark Andreessen were going back and forth on Twitter.
Right.
And then someone had forwarded to me and said, hey, look, you're not the only one being against these anonymous apps. Look at these two guys. I was like, whoa, two of the most influential guys in tech are actually speaking up while all these other guys are investing and putting all millions and millions. And that's I think how we connected. And
I don't know why. I guess I just grew up having empathy with people who are bullied and feeling how terrible it is. And then later in life, have two friends who had her sister who committed suicide after being bullied, and a very close friend of mine whose daughter did. And it just hit home. I mean, I always felt this way. And then I have very thick skin, and I choose to be somewhat public. And so I'm willing to take anonymous attacks. And I have somewhat of a megaphone that if I get anonymous attacks, I at least have a means of responding to them. It also helps that I'm married and have kids and a family, and I can feel very secure. But I think being a teenager today must be very tough. Now, you gave me some of your ideas that were built into your product that you felt were important. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that as an ethos has permeated your product design and how other people thinking about, teens or young kids may think about products?
Yeah. Well, we, when we were designing Shots, and this is why sometimes I've never used the word pivot, because it wasn't, we were actually, our games were successful and we were making money. We had a casino game that was generating a lot of money and didn't even have 1 million downloads yet. It was generating, and I miss it, and sometimes I think about bringing it back too. But
you missed the money or the casino game?
Both. It was fun. It was fun. So it was blackjack with your friends. So it was like super fun to play, and it wasn't obviously it was an iOS game, so it wasn't for real money. But it was like a change of mind. My brother Sam does something that drives me crazy, but he sends me like 2 to 3 industry articles a day, every single day. And I was like, I don't have time to read all this. And he still does it. And he's been doing it for years. And he used to send me these stories nonstop. And, he and I have both been bullied. And I know a lot of people have been bullied, so I'm not going to bring up the violin. But, but we've got our soft spots because of what we've been through. And so I think that's what happened with these articles. He would just send them nonstop about the rise of teen depression. 4 out of 5 U.S. teenagers say they've been bullied online. 70+% of them are saying they're feeling depressed because of social media. Then at the time, this is a few years ago, there were like platforms like Ask FM, and I think 1 year, I forgot, but there was like a handful of reported suicides from a site called Ask FM that I've never even heard of and never even became mainstream relevant. So all this stuff's happening. I was like, wow, like, we got to do something about this. We got to do something about this. And we've got Floyd on board. And I know Floyd, is, with Floyd is, I know we could talk to him, right? It was hard, but I know we could talk to him about this. And then Justin loved us and wanted to invest in us, even though he loved our games. But when we shared with him our concept, so I said we could do this. But
talk about what specifically this is.
Yeah. So what we did is we made this product very, very safe. And the reason why I'm talking about them is because I said we can get them to help push it, so we don't have to worry about all these different. Because one thing is no comments. We don't have comments inside Shots, and that affects virality a lot. No follower numbers. We don't show that. Well, that takes away gamification. So that affects, right? But back in my mind, I knew I had this distribution. I could figure it out. And so what we did is we said, let's make this safe first and worry about virality later.
And I think there's something about that ethos, like I think to Tumblr, okay? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Tumblr you could favorite, but you couldn't downvote, and they didn't allow comments.
Yeah.
And I think, if I remember correctly, David Karp was saying that he wanted to build a platform that was positive and productive, which is why he didn't want comments. And anyone who's ever dealt with comments knows, whether you're on Hacker News or Reddit or Y Combinator, that's Hacker News, or YouTube, comments are, especially if you feel you can hide behind anonymity, they can be brutal.
Yeah, they can. And especially, I'm glad you have thick skin. I don't. I'm very sensitive, and recently I admit to like insecurities. I'm very insecure. I'm in my 30s.
Most people are insecure.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like I barely even like to be on camera. Like I do these interviews. We get these requests all the time. I was like, can I just email you what I want to talk about? Something had to be done, and we said we will build these features, or not even build them, leave them out. And we'll worry about virality later, which is the opposite of what a lot of these platforms are doing.
Sorry, if I just say the one thing. So the no comments had been done before, and it's somewhat anathema to me because I always think about engagement as comments. But then when I think of it in terms of younger people and comments and safety, and everyone sees the stories about people going online and saying you're fat or you're this or you're that, and so you remove that. But the other thing was follower count, and I'll just remind you what you said to me was, if you look at young people using Instagram, you end up, and this is particularly true with girls, but I think it's true with anyone, where you feel insecure if your friends have, let's say, 500 followers and you've got 70 that you're being judged. And so you feel the need to share and compete to get the number to an acceptable level. Or if you put a photo out there and everyone can see that it only got 3 likes while everyone else is getting 25, that leads to insecurity. And tell me if I'm wrong, but this is my memory of Shots. Ethos is you can favorite stuff, but you don't show the follower count to other people, so no one feels measured or judged. Is that fair?
Everyone feels equal. Everyone feels like we're on a same level. And but what that's actually done, so that affected our initial growth. Like even though we had a lot, pretty good growth, but not great growth. Like I said, we had 200,000 users in the first 2 months, and we had a guy with tens of millions of followers, saying add me, and it wasn't like viral. The viral features weren't kicking in. But what we've noticed through time, though, is now, and we didn't know this, but we've looked at it now, is because comments give you anxiety, right? I post this, God, what's someone gonna say? What's someone gonna say? You know, and then the follower numbers or how many likes you have per post give you this feeling of pressure. Right. It's like, this better be good, or I better, if I'm, you know, I don't know how many followers you have on Twitter, but if I'm a VC and I'm setting something up, I better have as many followers as Mark, or else I'm not going to look as good as far as deal flow goes. So that's pressure, right? And so what we've noticed is, since we've taken away that level of anxiety and the feeling of pressure, people are posting more. And it's because they're posting more, and still, even though we have the other camera, they're still mostly selfies and being uploaded inside shots. You're seeing like the realness in people. You're seeing like true feelings. People always text me, or sometimes if I post one, sometimes I'll post my shots to my Facebook. My Facebook is very personal, it's just family members. And every time I post a picture, everyone says, you gotta smile more, John. Yeah. Like, you never smile.
You do have a very serious look.
Yeah, yeah, all of them. But you know what? I've taken like 1,300 pictures in the last 2 years. Like, eventually I don't smile that much. That's just me. Yeah. But since that's the real me, you know that's the real me. Right. It's not fake. It's not fake. If I took 1 picture or 2 pictures a year, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, but that's not
Although
me.
I've decided, I can't remember what they call it, duck face or whatever. Like,
yeah.
What is that called?
It's duck face, but you don't even see duck face much because people are uploading so much they don't worry about it. Duck face, you know, everyone's trying to make their face look skinnier. That's why they're doing a duck face.
Yeah,
everyone
I see it on Facebook. It's so weird to me.
That's what it is. It's, you know, people are trying to make their face look skinnier by doing that, but you don't have to worry about it. You don't see duck face on shots. I'll tell you that right now. You will not. I forgot about duck face. Because you don't have that feeling anxiety. So what's happening is now it's true feelings. So now you're relating through photos. Right. Very, very hard to quantify, but it's happening.
And so feature-wise, what have you learned? You have shots where people can like it, so you can get the feeling that people like it, but you don't feel judged by size.
Yeah, and you can see the amount of likes, but you personally.
Only you see it, other people don't. Yeah, so I have used shots, so I see that. And you don't allow comments, and you follow people, so there's followers, but you don't publish the number of followers, right?
Correct, yeah.
So that I don't have to feel anxiety that John has more followers than I do. You did an interesting feature, which I always liked. There was a company called Frontback, I think it was called. Do you remember that company? Yeah. And you actually had that as a feature in your app. Is that popular? Do people like that?
No, it's not a normal way to take pictures. So it's gonna take a while to become part of people's habits. Okay,
maybe that's why the company didn't end up as a standalone company becoming as big.
It's definitely complementary.
And you have video in your app. Are more and more people using video, or do you find most people still using photos?
Now, video's been taken off. We haven't had time because it's only just been, I think we launched it last week of April. So we haven't been able to sit down and figure out why, but one out of 4 posts right now inside shots are videos. Okay. And not so much selfie videos. They're usually the other way around. So most of the photos are selfies, but most of the videos are the back camera. So we haven't had a chance to look into, but we're flattered that it's working.
Anything else I haven't covered that you've learned about applications built for young people?
You know, I think we're going to talk about young people over all the topics that you're going to want to go over. So,
well, one question I have for you about millennials in particular. You have some views about how millennials consume news and how that's different than stuffy old Gen Xers like me. Because I can tell you how I consume it. I DVR the most boring shows you could imagine.
CNN and 60 Minutes.
No. Well, so I'm not a baby boomer. Baby boomers watch 60 Minutes. I watch Fareed Zakaria, it's the best show on television. You should the best news show on television. You should watch it. It happens to be on CNN, but Fareed Zakaria is wonderful, and he talks about world news. I watch Meet the Press because I'm a political junkie. And I actually tape, and this probably does age me as a baby boomer, I actually tape, it used to be called the McNeil Lehrer Report, the News Hour on PBS. And I do it like I do all TV shows. I watch the upfront news bit for like 5-6 minutes, and then if any of the stories interest me, I fast forward to them. That's how Gen Xers consume news. And I think I might be Gen X too. I still watch. I still read the New York Times.
But I know you watch. You get your news another way. I know.
Oh, of course I do.
Twitter.
Twitter's the number one way.
Okay.
Number one way.
So this, I'm glad you brought this up because this is something I've been thinking about because we've been playing around. Okay, like what are next steps for shots? Okay, people are taking photos. People are using it. We're focusing on, connecting more with address book friends and being able to, worrying about the virality stuff that we weren't so much focused on at first. But what's next? And a couple interesting things happened in the last few months. Was out with a friend of mine, one of our investors. He had this suite at the Giants game, and I was there, and I was bored. And he said, "Hey, I want you to meet one of our LPs." And I was talking to the LP, and we were talking. He was he kept talking about Snapchat. He had this 14-year-old daughter, and he was talking about Snapchat, and I think this right around Snapchat Discover had come out, or maybe just a couple months after, and he says, what are your thoughts on Snapchat Discover? I was like, I don't really use it, but I'm reading about what people are saying about it, and I don't know. I think it's too early to tell. Like the Apple Watch, everyone asks what I think about the Apple Watch. Too early to tell, but. I said, well, why? What are your thoughts? He said, my daughter's on there nonstop.
Okay.
He said, nonstop. And I said, what's she doing in there? And he said, she's either writing her friends, or snapping with her friends, or she's spending some time in this Discover section. And I said, she likes it? She's like, yeah. She's like, I come home from work and she tells me what's going on in the news. And I said, well, how do you know she's getting it from Snapchat? She's like, my daughter doesn't watch TV. He said she literally turns on TV once a week, watches Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and tunes out. Doesn't watch anything else on TV. And now she's talking about me about, political stuff and what's going on around the world. I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. I was thinking about it. I was like, that's just random. So this was a few months ago. Last Friday, I took a day off work. I came down here, and Justin and I spent a day together. He had just finished this song that he's releasing, and we just finished up this update, and so we're just driving around, and he's,
as you do.
Yeah, well, there's not much. I mean, I love Justin, but there's not much you can do. You can't just go to the mall or the beach with him, So like usually we just, he's got this suburban style car, this Escalade, and we're sending him back. But anyway,
does he get hat and glasses on so no one can tell?
That doesn't help. That doesn't even help. No. Okay. So anyway, so we're sitting around, we're just driving around, and he's on his phone nonstop, and I'm looking, and after a few hours, I just I noticed that 75% of the time that he was on the phone, he was in Snapchat Discover. And and this is a kid that doesn't really, other than the hockey, he doesn't, and maybe a little basketball, he doesn't really care about sports. He's in ESPN.
Right.
And he's switching to People. And I don't know if he's looking for stories about himself. Then he's going to CNN.
Right.
Back and forth. The other 25% was split between Shots, Instagram, and Snapchat. He's got a personal Snapchat. But he was spending a lot of time. I was like, this is interesting. So I came back, and when I was talking to my brother about it, and we were building some media stuff inside Shots, and we started looking into it more. I was like, yes, Justin or this guy's daughter not watching these shows that you talked about. They probably I haven't even heard of most of these shows. So. I think that's the way. I mean, everyone always talks about this is the new TV, and it really is. It's gone. Media's gone from print a couple hundred years ago to radio 100 years ago to TV 50 years ago to internet 10 years ago, now to mobile, and that's where they're spending most of their time. Just our generation was spending most of their time behind the TV, so that's why we're still used to, and now it's still part of our habits. That's the way to go. And even the shooting that happened yesterday, I heard about it. I just went straight to Twitter.
Yeah.
I didn't bother to go to CNN.
For news, I go straight to Twitter. I think Twitter is the breaking news source. Yeah. And they need to figure out how to channel that even more. But what my observations on news Number one, the biggest thing that I think has changed in news is the following. When I go home to see my wife, I will say, oh, did you hear about such and such? Yes, I read the headline. Or if I'm at work, hey, did you hear about da-da-da? Yeah, I read the headline. And I think headlines have become insanely important.
Yeah.
And Twitter, and social media in general promote that, but you get a sense of a breadth of what's going on, and then you can dig down into what you care about more. Number two, tools like Pocket, I think, are really important because in a world where we're bothered and we're going through stuff, we're not ready to necessarily commit to deep dive in something, right? That's why TV works, because you're ready for a lean back experience and you just say, I want someone else to drive for a half hour. And so what Pocket does for me is I scan the headlines. I know, so there was an article I saw on Twitter today. It said something like, explaining black internet, black Twitter. Mm-hmm. And black Twitter is a thing. It's a hashtag. It's the African Americans use Twitter.
It's the second biggest community.
Yeah, and they use Twitter in a different way than other people do. So there's a different kind of culture that's emerged. And I've always wondered about it. I've asked all my African American friends about it. It's something that interests me. And there's an article apparently in the Atlantic about that. So I know the article's there, but I don't have time to read. So I sent it to Pocket. And then I'll sit one day when I'm in lean back mode and I'll sit and read articles. And then the other interesting thing for me for news is that as news has exploded in terms of numbers of stories, curation matters even more. Mm-hmm. So whether it's Media Redefined, I don't know if you ever read that, it's great. If you don't, it's Jason Hirschhorn, where they send you a curated list of what they think you should read. But it's broad. He wants you to read about music and art and tech and tries to drive you across multiple things. How does he know what you like? Well, it's two things. One is it's what he thinks the most important, and not just Jason. He's got a whole curation team. What he thinks is important. Now, by the way, you get a headline and an extract, and then you decide what you want to read. Yeah. But what he's trying to do is not just serve up what you would normally read, because you can get that on Twitter.
Yeah.
But he hooks me. I'll go read about something I would never read about, which is interesting. So there's those kind of curation platforms. There's also platforms like Nuzzle. And what Nuzzle does, you probably know this, is it's a platform for seeing what all of your friends or people you follow or interested in are reading in terms of news stories. So it's a way of using your friends or people you're interested in to curate for you what you read. But this seems to be where news is going.
Yeah, but my only thing though, and one is when I was talking about Justin, I'm talking about not Justin Bieber, the pop star. I'm talking about a 21-year-old kid, right? And the thing is, I don't know if standalone products are the solution for millennials. Like I don't like if I said, hey, listen, I see you're spending a lot of time Snapchat stories. You know it's a great news app. Is just get Pocket. And he's like, oh. No, he's like, I came here to look at this snap that I got, and then I got hooked there. So I think it's more of a complementary product than a standalone product.
Well, I think there are different use cases, and I don't see necessarily millennials flocking to Pocket. So I agree with you.
Yeah. By the beautiful product, and I love it. One of our engineers came from there.
By the way, for what it's worth, I've spent a bunch of time watching news on Snapchat. It's the only thing I do on Snapchat, really? For what it's worth. I mean, okay, I'll go on and when people send me snaps and I'll watch them.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand how to use Snapchat. It's not that I don't understand it, but I don't understand when I would care. Like, I don't have any reason to send an ephemeral video of me or photo of me to people, so I don't do it, but I consume them when people send them to me. But I do like the Discover product. I thought it was very cool. Yeah. So here's the obvious stuff on video is our consumption time is getting shorter and shorter. The way that me as a Gen Xer, the way I use it is I watch TV, I DVR, I watch the bit I want. When I watch Jimmy Fallon, I watch the monologue and then I'm out, right? I bounce and I want to go watch, John Oliver or whatever. So I think the shorter form really appeals to people. And I do agree with you, which is once Snapchat, which millennials love, once they get you hooked, then they earn the right to bring you over and show you other things.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very well built app. it's counterintuitive to my brain how to use it.
Yeah. Well, it's just very, very different. And first, guys, our generation that's signed up for 25 different networks in the last 10 years, or at least 25 different, you've got this one. And that's kind of how we look at with Shots is like, we're not going after the user that's signed up for 25 different things because they're not going to understand Shots either. Yeah. We're going after the user that's signed up really for less than 5 different products.
Now, you said that you thought we got connected when Mark Andreessen and I were talking about our mutual dislike of Secret or apps like Secret. But the truth is I became familiar with you 2 years before that because I got Shahidi'd. That's a term, right? Shahidi?
Yeah, but I Shahidi you during the Mark Andreessen. You guys were going back and forth.
No, it was before that.
Was it?
Yeah, I got Shahidi'd before that. I got Shahidi'd a couple of years ago. Mark has taken to calling you the Twitter WMD, weapon of mass destruction. Fortune, Recode, other people have called you the king of Twitter. Here's an observation I would have. You have 400,000 followers, is that about right? Yeah. Something like that. Whenever you've tweeted with my @name, well, the very first time for me, multiple years ago, I couldn't use Twitter for like a week. Because every one of your followers kept telling me, follow me, follow me, follow me. And I would go to my @tab and I couldn't see anything anyone else said because of that. That's gotten better. Now the follow me, follow me, follow me is like an hour. What is that? What is Shahidi? How do you have this like following of people and what have you learned from that?
Well, the thing that we used to do, and I need to go back to doing it because we've been so busy with the product that I haven't spent so much time, is we spent a lot of time communicating and tweeting with our community. If people had a question or an issue, we would tweet them. So I used to spend a lot of time on Twitter, not so much. Now I try to, even yesterday I went on and I tweeted 4 or 5 times and then I signed off and I said I'm not going back on for a couple more weeks. It's just, it's really not that hard. It's really simple. You just have to talk. You just have to speak with the community. You have a pretty good.
But to be fair, I have.
But your core audience is not a 16-year-old teenager, right?
Okay, so the pattern's different.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like we have is and they go and sometimes I'll tweet them during the day, not thinking these kids might be in class, right? It might be 11 a.m. So they're in class. So what happens? Oh my God, John Shahidi tweeted me, and the entire class of 50, 60, 80 people are, what they're saying? Who's John Shahidi and why is she so excited? So they all go and they look me up, right? They search me and they say, oh, this guy seems kind of interesting. Oh, Shots, yeah, I've heard of that. Wow, let me get it. And by the way, she's so excited. How come no one cool's tweeting me? So let me go and tweet him. And that's kind of how.
But John, you said something interesting to me, which is you said you used to be on Twitter all the time, and now you're a bit busy, so you log on every couple of weeks. Is that Twitter's problem? Do you think that, do we go through a life cycle where people use it a lot, they enjoy it, they engage, they're getting something out of it, and then they get busy and drag somewhere else and it doesn't stay as relevant for them? Or
there's so many different things I think are Twitter's problems. Just social media, including us. We've got to, and I don't even try to focus on their problems because I want to focus on ours and make sure we do things right and not make any mistakes. And I think just, there's so many different options, right? Like, do you only watch NBC?
No, I don't watch NBC very often.
Yeah, but if there's something that was interesting, that would interest you, you would tune into NBC.
Yeah, but there's a difference, I think. If I take a content channel, which is what NBC is, I could decide if they have shows that are relevant to me. The thing for me, so I haven't tired of Twitter. I haven't weaned my use of Twitter. I use it first and foremost as a newsreader. And I don't just mean that I want to go read stories on, what's going on in Iran, for example. I go on there just to kind of know what's going on in general, like what's happening,
and
what's happening.
People's thoughts on them.
Yeah, and I just want to know what's happening, what's relevant, what's current. And then the second thing is I'll go check app messages. Yeah. Has anyone said anything to me? And I, like you, I respond to a lot of people. I can't respond to every single app message. I respond to a lot more than you think. Yeah. And I think that one thing's changed is a lot of my peer group, a lot of the venture capitalists who were chatty and engaged in the early days, they have gotten a little bit tired of doing that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not tired of that. I enjoy going on there and asking a question or making a comment and jumping in and scrapping and talking to people. I think it just goes back to my youth of being in chat rooms and chatty and talking to people and stuff like that. And I find it a fun way to engage with new or different people. But it seems other people have kind of gone off that.
I mean, you know, it's hard for me to say anything bad about Twitter just because like those are like most of my friends, you know. And even though Dick's not there, but
Twitter, just wondering.
It's you know, but I'll say, you know, it's no. They've got a product issue, like, you know, it's everyone's talking about it, and they, you know, so that's something we think about. And one thing that we many people don't know, but anytime we come out with a really big feature, we actually remove a lot of features. A lot of features that aren't really being used that much. Say, hey, they're going to be excited about video. Kill that feature that's only being used by 5% of the community. And I don't think Twitter really thought of that, right? They were growing, they monetized, and they did a great job monetizing. I haven't paid attention to the recent earnings, but you know, everyone says they're making money, which is something 3 years ago people said they
$2 billion, something like that.
And if you remember 3 or 4 years ago, everyone was like, "How's this company ever going to make money? Like, it's not going to be possible." So, but no one really focused on the product. No one really focused. Okay, people aren't using Twitter the way that when we signed up. You know, people aren't using it in that way. People who signed up in 2009, 2010 are using it. So they've got it. They had to like make some changes. Like one of the things that Twitter, and I've actually heard some rumors, and it might just be rumors, is like making a standalone messaging app, right? Like that should have been done a long time ago. Because now you're just going to confuse people. Like you should have done that a long time ago. You know, news, they keep moving things, right? Like they keep moving the trending sections, and that's one of the most valuable. I mean, if we're talking about going there for news, you got to go straight to trending. And now trending is tailored, local, all these different things. It's like all these different changes are being made, and you know, a lot of companies make changes, and in fact, we make changes. And in fact, a word that we're getting away from is calling it changes, and even internally, we don't call our app updates internally. We call them new experiences. Apple's done a great job. Apple's changed a ton, but when they change, they come out and they introduce it as a new experience, not an update, and they really market and they educate you on why this happened. And I think they think through it because they're product people there, and they and people understand. I was like, oh, okay, cool, I get this.
I want to, as we start to wind down the conversation, I want to talk a little bit. I want to go back to this idea of celebrity. Not to tie you into Bieber or tie you into that, but you, more than most, have figured out how to use access to celebrity to your benefit. I mean, again, just looking at the list of people you've worked with, either before Shots or with Shots, Mike Tyson, Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, Usain Bolt, obviously Floyd Mayweather. What advice would you have to people if they want to find a way to get access to their first celebrity? How does one get access and how does one engage?
It's simple. Just make something cool. Make something cool. Make it great. They're you know, especially these days, you know, celebrities and other influencers are so interested in tech. They'll find it.
So you would say that what gave you access initially was the fact that you had games that people liked.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about 2009. We're not talking about like
because I mean, not in a negative way, but like when I think of people who hang out all the time with celebrities, I live in LA, so I know these people. You don't fit the archetype. Like they're kind of button-down shirt, a little bit, you know, I don't want to say smarmy, but like super slick, cool, like buddy at the club drinking champagne.
Yeah, see, I don't do that. I don't
you
really
seem like a normal guy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't do that stuff. Like even that day with Justin last Friday when we were together, I think he went to a club with Rudy, my friend that you met, and they were like, "Come to the club." I was like, "I don't go to clubs. Like I don't do those things. Right? I'm staying here for the weekend, and plus I live in San Francisco, so it's I don't." I think my relationship with Justin's different now. Like he's literally one of my best friends as far as personal life goes, and so that's one thing. But then I've got this business relationship. But I also live in San Francisco, so I'm not like going out to clubs, and I've got something really big I'm building with my brother, and that's our focus, and all this other stuff is not really, that's not what excites us.
So would you say, someone builds an app and I just have to hope that somebody...
They'll find it. Look at Dub Smash,
okay.
right? Dub Smash, every celebrity's using Dub Smash right now.
Yeah.
The Kardashian family, all those girls are posting, and I looked into it. They don't have deals with these guys or anything like that. It's not like they're investors. They're using it because Dub Smash is fun, right? Like a lot of different stuff. Uber, right? Like... Ship recently, kind of my influencer friends were talking about the Ship app. I was like, how did you guys hear about Ship? They're only in 5 cities. Like, how do you know about it? Like, oh man, this is so cool. We just take pictures of things and just send them here and there. King Batch, one of my friends, he borrowed his friend's Xbox and he shipped it back to his friend, type of thing. So, you just make something cool.
So the shtick of I'm gonna go find an influencer. I'm gonna find an agent who's going to introduce me to an influencer. I'm going to give them, 5% of my company, and they're going to promote me. Like, you think that lacks authenticity and is less likely to be successful.
Never give. That's the one advice I'd have. I mean, I will have a few different advices, but one is never give. Right? Yeah. Like you give equity. Then you're pretty much saying your product sucks. Yeah. Right? Like, hey, my product sucks. It's not taking off. Please help me. And they're gonna look at it like, man, like I didn't pay for this. Like, I'll do whatever I want. Yeah. No, I mean, don't do that. Don't give. You never have to give. Just make something really cool, and they'll want to be involved with you if it fits their brand. If it fits the brand.
So good. It sounds like your view is it really does just boil down to what we in the tech industry always say: build great product, good things will happen.
Yeah. But the problem is though, it's exciting, right? If like someone like a, I don't know, what's that girl's name that she's invested in? Jessica Alba, right? Like she's invested in a company that's worth a few billion right now. I've heard.
Yeah,
right?
She actually helps run it.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
But like think about this. Think about you're in San Francisco, right? And you're stressed, and you finally raise this money. But San Francisco is a beautiful city. I love it there. As you know, I've moved up there a few years ago, and I don't know if I'll ever come back. And but for a big city with so much history, it's not the most fun city. So you're sitting there all day and there's nothing to do, and Jessica Alba wants to meet with you. It gets exciting, and she wants to come by the office. Everyone gets excited, but it's like, no, like don't get excited about that. Like remember, she wants to meet you. So
well, if it's Jessica Alba, you can get excited a little bit.
She's married, no?
But just excited to meet her, right?
Yeah, but don't change your product because of that.
She is married, and her husband also does tech entrepreneurial stuff.
Okay.
He's a good guy named Cashwarn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just it. And I have friends who have startups, and they're like, "Hey, so and so wanted to meet. This is so cool. So and so's come by the office. I think you should, so and so NBA player, not even the star of the team wants to meet." And I was like, these things don't matter, man. Like, just make your product, and you know what? The president of the country is gonna want to meet you. Like, come on, like just.
So what are you gonna do to get Obama on Shots?
Well,
You have a plan?
We don't plan around that. Hopefully he'll hear about it, or the next president will hear about it and believe in the vision and say, hey, I want to be involved, I want to use it, I want my kids to use it. But that's the one thing we've never done, is we've never reached out to everyone. Everyone's always come to us.
Are people using your product internationally? Is it largely a U.S. phenomenon?
Yeah, U.S. is our largest market, but we're really big in Brazil, Mexico, and Spain. Don't know why yet. We haven't looked into these things. Why? We just know we're big there, and we haven't made any decided to make any changes to focus on a specific market. We did localize for those
Okay.
markets, but we're really big there. And then some of our investors are really have a lot of exposure in China and China, Japan, and South Korea. So those are markets that we are like exploring and learning. But those, especially China, is different. You can't just enter China and say, "Hey, we're cool. We're in the U.S.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber backed us." You can't just. You've got to make a lot of changes. We may even have to call the app something else other than Shots. Shots might not make sense in their culture.
Good. Well, listen, I want to bring it to an end. I want to say thank you for building an app that is a safe environment for children, and I hope that can be an inspiration to other people to know that you don't have to build game mechanics in, and you don't have to build apps that just become hot because they become the latest place to bitch about your friends or to write on posts what you might write on the bathroom wall. And so I want to thank you for that, but I also want to thank you for coming down and being on both sides with me today.
Of course.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
All right, Mark. Oh, man.